So we have now completed the central part of our firefly body. We're going to leave the tail part for right at the end. So we're going to continue with the head, and then we're going to go on with the wings. The two little feet we're also going to do after the wings are done. So now I'm going to start with the eyes, because they're going to be the highest part of the head. So first we're going to do the internal little 2 circles, and then do this one on top of the bigger one. So on our lino, I'm going to add a little bit of lubricant. Working from the front of our pewter on our semi-soft surface, I'm going to draw in the bigger circle. So I'm not going to draw in the small little circle. We're now going to draw in the big circle, and that small little circle we're going to do from the front with a little ball tool, and I'll show you that now. So first we're going to do the bigger circle of the eye. Again, I'm using a medium to a hard pressure. We can then remove the lino and flatten on our hard surface. So to add the little dot on the inside, I want that to go downwards. I'm going to take the smallest ball tool that I have, which is this one, which is just a little bit bigger than the 1 millimeter. I think it's about 1.5 millimeter. And I'm going to just press down. And then I'm going to press down on the other one as well. Then I'm going to take my 0.5 millimeter ball tool, and I'm going to flatten that area. And I'm still working on my hard surface. And then I can define the outside edge as well. That's it for the 2 little central parts. So now we can lift up the entire next part of the eye. So back onto our lino, still working on the front of our pewter. I'm now going to add the next circle around. And then we can flatten. So we remove our lino, place it on our hard surface, and flatten from the front. And then we can tidy up with the Teflon tool. And then we can add a little bit of height from the back on our soft surface. So we turn our pewter upside down, place it on our soft surface using our paper stump. We're going to add a little bit of height from the back. We can then turn our pewter back to the front, place it on the hard surface, and then we can flatten. Here we go. And then I'm going to define with the metal boulder before we continue with the next one. Back onto the lino, still keeping our pewter face up. We can now add the overall circle around the eyes. Remove our liner from the semi-soft surface and flatten from the front on our hard surface. Here we go. So now we can add the tiny details around the face. We're first going to do the tiny little teardrop and these ones all in the same go, and then lift up the entire face. So from the front of our pewter, we draw in each one. And then we're going to flatten on our hard surface. And then we're going to lift up a little bit from the back. Then we're going to place our pewter face down on our soft surface, and we're going to use our sharp tip Teflon tool, and we're going to draw detail lines in between each one of these spaces. So first I'm going to do a little detail line on the little teardrop, then in between each of the other spaces. Then back onto the front of our pewter on our hard surface so that we can flatten. So I'm not going to go into that, I'm just flattening in between the eyes slightly. So now we can continue with the nose. So back onto our linos, still working from the front of our pewter. So first we're going to do the big circle, and then we're going to do each of these one at a time on either side. So from the front of our pewter, I draw in with a medium pressure the main circle in the center, and then we need to flatten. Then I'm going to add a little bit of height to that main circle from the back. So onto our soft surface, from the back of our pewter, with our paper stump, I'm going to add a little bit of height from the back. And then we can flatten again. So we turn our pewter face up again, place it on our hard surface, and then we flatten from the front. Then we can define as well before we continue with the next piece. So back onto our lino. on the front of our pewter, I'm going to draw each shape next to that main circle, the first one on the left and the first one on the right. And then we can flatten. So back onto our hard surface, we flatten around. We can then add the next two shapes. So back onto our liner, still working from the front. And then we can flatten, so we remove our liner. And then we can add the last two ones. And then we can flatten again. So now I'm not going to flatten in between the eyes and this central piece, because I want to keep that little bit of height. And then I'm going to define as well. And then we're going to add a little bit of height from the back. So we turn our pewter face down on our soft surface. And I'm going to use my hands first just to lift up the overall head a little bit. And then I'm going to use my paper stump to add a little bit of detail height. And then we can flatten again from the front. Here we go. So now we can continue with our wings.